Risk to reward ratio of deadlifting is so in favor of reward, it's not even funny. And honestly, anyone who talks about deadlifting being dangerous has probably not read any of the actual research on the subject. First off, how are injury rates actually measured? The usual way is the number of injuries that occur per 1,000 hours of participation. Across the studies that assess this for different activities, different sports, things like that, the definition of an injury isn't always super consistent. Sometimes it is anything that takes someone out of place. Sometimes it's any minor ache and pain. But in any case, that unit of measurement is the most common one. Now, for context, soccer and basketball have an injury rate of about 8 to 32 injuries per 1,000 hours of participation, which depends on level of play, game versus practice, things like that. There is no data on this for deadlifting alone because usually people aren't only deadlifting and nothing else. But there is studies done on the sport of powerlifting, of which deadlifting makes up 1/3. And there, the most commonly reported rate of injury is 1 to 4 injuries per 1,000 hours of participation. So what that means is that soccer and basketball are anywhere from 2 to 32 times more dangerous as deadlifting. Now, I'm not trying to fearmonger soccer or basketball or anything like that. It is just worth putting into perspective that there is no evidence or rationale for deadlifting to have the stigma of danger that it has. Moreover, there are certain features of a deadlift that make it somewhat uniquely beneficial compared to other exercises. For instance, you could call it one of the more time-efficient movements because it does provide a meaningful stimulus to a very high number of muscles across the body. Second, and probably more important, is that if you care about bone mineral density, the strength of your bones, it is very worthwhile to consider including something like a deadlift. Reason why is that bone will only adapt and become stronger in response to load if the load is of sufficient intensity and provided in multiple directions. This is known as Wolff's Law. When someone has decreased bone mineral density, osteopenia, osteoporosis, one of the most common sites of a compression fracture is the spine. So if you want to reduce your risk of that happening, you need to load the spine and you need to strengthen the spine so that risk of compression fracture is decreased. Deadlifts will obviously do that to a very high load in both a horizontal direction when you are in the more hinged position at the bottom and a more vertical direction, let's say when you're at the upright position at the top of the rep. Now, obviously there's a lot more that can be said about the benefits of exercise and so on and so forth, but the bottom line of the video is this. Risk of deadlifting is negligent and probably not even worth talking about. Reward of deadlifting, very high, very much worth talking about.